this is the warm-up for section 1-2, day 2. We are talking about writing equations today. So I already did the warm-up, question A before the video started. Question B, when we see f of -3, up here it says f of x. That means replace x with parenthesis -3. Every place in this equation where I see an x, I make it -3 in a parenthesis. The reason why I keep saying put it in the parentheses because people that don't make tons of mistakes. So this is trying to help you avoid making silly mistakes. So then I do -3 times -3, 9. Then I do -2 times -3 plus 6. So f of -3 is 13. And then question C is f of 0. So that means replace x with, because I can't do math, that's why. Whoopsies, 15. Yeah, 15, okay. We're gonna replace x with 0, so then we do 0 squared minus 2 times 0, which is 0. Okay.
You have the wrong color there.
That's okay. So skills review side note, evaluate f of x for the given value of x. If I say f of x equals 2x plus 1, and then I say x equals 1, this means to do f of 1. That's what, when it says x equals 1, this means take the x and change it into 1. So f of 1 is the same thing as saying x equals 1. So I put in parenthesis 1 wherever I see an x, and f of 1 is 3. So what does f of 1 mean? Okay, so it means x equals 1, but what directions does it tell you to do?
Replace all the x's in the problem with 1.
Almost perfect. The directions, like f of 1 is directions. It's directions. It tells you, bless you, to replace all x's with parenthesis 1. So that was the only thing that I would say you didn't say to me was the parenthesis part. And like I said, that parenthesis is going to help you make less mistakes. You could trust me, or you could do what lots of other people in the past have done and made lots of mistakes. Your choice. I only have like 20 years experience. Only. Okay. All right, so today is all about writing equations from words. We don't have to graph them. We're going to write the equations. Okay. So we're going to start with the f of x equals absolute value of x. So they are telling that to us in the directions, so we know that is the original function we are starting with every single time. This says write a function g. So right there it's telling me here's the name of the function, whose graph is a translation 4 units up of the f function. So we want to go 4 units up. Is up vertical or horizontal? Vertical. Is vertical on the inside or the outside? Outside. So our f of x is the function. We have to take 4 and add it on the outside of that function. We have to do f of x, the function, and add 4. So what I've done right here is I've written function notation of what we're about to do. Now I'm going to actually do it, and I'm going to say, what is f of x? What is f of x? What's the function? Absolute value of x. And we are taking the function and adding 4. Now we're going to rename it and give it the name of g. So we write g of x equals absolute value x plus 4. Oops, forgot my bar. And that's it. We're done. Next example. Write a function h, so we got a new name, h, whose graph is a translation 8 units down of the graph of f. So we're going to take the graph of f, so f of x, and we're going to go 8 units down. Is that inside or outside?
Inside. Outside. Oh, outside.
Vertical down. Vertical is outside, so we do minus 8. So then I say to you, what is the function? What's the function we're doing for this one? Absolute value of x minus 8. So our g of x is absolute value of x minus 8. Oh, yes, it would be h. Thank you for reminding me that it was a different name. Good, paying attention to details there. Okay. Next one, write a function m whose graph is a translation 5 units to the right. Right is on the inside. That is correct. And inside is opposite. She's on top of it. She's on fire. Okay. So my original function is f. When I do it on the inside, let me fix that. It would be like x minus 5. That would go on the inside. Inside, and we do opposite. So if it's going to the right, we're actually going to do subtraction because we do the opposite. This is function notation. This is directions of what is happening. This is the directions of what is happening. Now, this is like our warm-up today. So what does this really mean? This means replace x with parenthesis x minus 5. That's what f of x minus 5 means. Replace x with parenthesis x minus 5. So it's absolute value of x. So I'll just do absolute value, parenthesis x minus 5, close parenthesis, close my absolute value. So I took out the x. I put in x minus 5 in parentheses. Do I really need the parenthesis here? No, I don't. But sometimes I do, so I'm doing it every single time. So since I don't, I will simplify it. Ooh, it's not g. Sorry, I really want to do g. M of x is equal to absolute value. I just simplified it, x minus 5, and that's it. So that went on the inside. Questions about how that one's different than the two above?
If we put the parentheses as our answer, where do you go?
So if you have to type it in Canvas, it'll mark it wrong. Okay? So technically, we always want to simplify, and this is going to be more important when we have more steps. This is the first step we're doing. We're going to have more steps. So the simplifying thing is an important thing. Okay? Now, it is the exact same equation. They're equivalent if you have them or don't. So it's not wrong, but like it's not simplified. Okay? Next one, write a function p, there's the name, whose graph is a translation 6 units left of the graph of f. So this one's horizontal, which is opposite. So we're going to be doing a plus sign. It's going to be on the inside. So I will have f of, and I'm going to do it on the inside, x plus 6. That's my directions. That's my function notation that says what to do to the f equation. So from here, I'm going to do that to the f of f equation by taking out my x and putting in parenthesis x plus 6. And then that can simplify to g of x. No, not g. Say I really want to do g. What is it? P of x equals absolute value x plus 6. All right. What's it say? Example 2. Writing translations of functions algebraically and graphically. So there's going to be a few questions in your assignment that doesn't give you the words, but it gives you the graph instead. So you have to write the equation from the graph. So I'm going to go through the graphing part real fast. This isn't pre-graphed for you, but it will be in the assignment. So I'm going to go through the graphing part real fast, and then we will look at how we would write the function for that. So the original function is f of x equals 2x plus 1. I'm going to graph that in black because that's the original function. F of x equals 2x plus 1. That's a line. My slope is 2. My y-intercept is 0, 1. That's the first lesson that we did in this class, was reviewing lines from Algebra 1. So I'm just graphing that guy really quickly. Now, it says we're going to write a function whose graph is a translation 3 units down of the graph of f. So I'm going to take this graph of f, and I'm going to move everything 3 units down. Why don't you have your computer? Did you say I'm using it right now? Okay, let me see if I can get you, or you can just write this on paper if you want. Or are you going to go back and watch the video? Like, what do you like to do? So we're going to write the equation of the red line. There's 2 ways we could do it. I want to just talk about how to do it graphically. If we need to write the equation of the red line, what information do I need? My slope and my y-intercept. So for the red line, what is my slope? 2. And my y-intercept? 0. Ooh. Are you looking at mine or yours? Are you looking at mine or yours? Amarian, are you looking at mine or yours? Okay, so you're looking at mine, which is too far away because you're not counting it correctly. Or you're looking at the wrong color. We're looking at the red one. Or are you looking at the black one? Okay, so then you're too far away. Look on your computer. Did you do it on your computer? Okay, you can use your finger. What is it, guys?
-2.
It's -2. So if I have my slope and my y-intercept, can I just write the equation? Okay. So this is, they tell us it's g. So g of x equals 2x minus 2. You could have done this, I'm sorry, not graphically, with the equation as well. If I had originally 2x plus 1, and I'm going to take that down 3, well, that goes on the outside of the equation, down 3. So if I have 2x plus 1 down 3, that equals 2x minus 2. So you can do it graphically or you can do it with the equation, but I want to do it graphically because I know there's some. You have to look at the graph and find the equation. Okay. Here's another one. It's the exact same line. So I'm going to copy that line really quickly. I should have just done it on the same graph, but oh well. And then this one is going to be translation 2 units to the left. So I'm going to go to the left for each of these points, 2 units. So we look at our g of x equation. We look at the blue one. If you moved everything to the left 2, what is our slope? Still 2. Did not affect the slope. And then what is our y-intercept? Yeah, 5. So that's us just looking at a picture and figuring out the equation. That's not using transformations, but I'm okay with you doing that. If you wanted to do it with the equation, to move it to the left, we would have to do x plus 2 for our f of x plus 2. And wherever we see an x, replace that with x plus 2. What is the original plus 1? So I took the original 2x plus 1 and I replaced x with x plus 2. So to do this the way we just did it above, replace x with x plus 2, I'm going to distribute to get rid of those parentheses. And I will have 2x plus 5. You can see I got the exact same answer, either graphing it and looking at it or replacing the x with x plus 2. Questions about that? Okay. It says check answers using a graphing calculator. We went over that yesterday. If you didn't have your calculator yesterday but have it today, I can help you individually when I'm done with these notes. Okay. So here is another example, only this one's going to start with absolute value. So it first gives me absolute value x plus 3 and then plus 1. I'm going to graph that by using transformations. I know that normally my absolute value is like right here in the center. Do you guys know that yet? You've done enough practice that we know that it's right in the center. So what does this plus 3 tell me to do? That is left 3. And then what does the plus 1 on the outside do? Up 1. So all of these points, I'm going to go to the left 3, up 1. And this is going to be this original equation that they gave us, the f of x equation. So in the assignment, they're going to give you both this one and the new equation, and you have to write the equation based on the graph. Here they've given me words, and I'm going to graph it for you so we could practice both. This says a function whose graph is a reflection in the x-axis of the graph of f. So imagine flipping this guy in the x-axis. The vertex, I haven't used this word a ton in here, but the vertex of the graph is this point right in the center, vertex, which is at -3, 1. Where would my vertex be after I flip it? It'll be at -3, -1. Did you say -1? Oh, that's what I thought you said, which is the same. So there's two ways we could do this. We could either use our knowledge of what makes a reflection and we can do that to the equation, or we can look at the picture and figure out the equation from the picture. I'm going to go through both. So let's look at the picture. I know it's an absolute value, right? Yeah, because it's V-shape. And what do I notice about the V-shape? So what does make it go down? A negative where? In the front? Okay. G of x equals negative. Did the slope of this absolute value change when it reflected? And it's still 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. So no other number in front. Then we've got x equals. So I'm doing this graphically. I'm just going to look at the graph. From the origin, the vertex moved where? Left 3, down 1. So I'm going to put +3 on the inside, and I'm going to write -1 on the outside. This is the correct equation for the graph. So if I just took the black equation, the f of x equation, if I just took that and I put a negative sign in front of it, would that be the exact same equation? Okay, if I took this, it says a graph is a reflection in the x-axis. If I took this equation and just put a negative sign in front of it, because that's what you guys told me. You said, oh, if there's a reflection, there's a negative sign in front. If I did just a negative sign in front, are these equations exactly the same? No. So there's a trick with that negative sign in front. So when we do a reflection in the x-axis, we are reflecting the entire function, right? That's what we did on the graph. We took the entire function and reflected it, the entire function. So when I do that to my equation, the original f equation, that's why I'm using black right now, to the original f equation, I have to put a negative sign in front of the entire absolute value x plus 3 closed absolute value plus 1. So I'm reflecting that entire original equation. That's how it's going to turn to g of x. And then what happens to this negative sign here? So one thing about absolute value bars is you don't cross the absolute value bars. So the negative sign has to go to absolute value of x plus 3, but it can't go inside. It's still in front of it. But because of these parentheses, it also goes to the plus 1. So by using the algebraic equation, by using the form here, I have to negative everything. I can't just negative the absolute value. I can't just put a negative sign in front because you will get it wrong. We have to do the entire function. Is that making sense, yes or no? Who said no? I want to help you if it's not making sense. If we're just making jokes, that's fine. It's not fine. All right, so the second one, write a function h whose graph is a reflection in the y-axis of the graph. So I'm going to change colors. I'm going to still use that same graph. We're going to do a reflection in the y-axis. So instead of the x-axis, let's look at the graph. Where would the vertex be if I reflect in the y-axis? 3, 1. A little backwards there. 3, 1. And I'm just reflecting it, so I'm copying all my points, just found the vertex, copied all my points. Now it's got a reflection in the y-axis. So we can write the equation of that. This one's h of x. So that one's facing up. I know it's going to start with just the absolute value. The slope did not change, so there's no number in front of there. It's x, but if I'm going to the right 3, it's going to be minus 3. And then I'm going up 1. That'll be plus 1. So that is the correct equation. I got that from my graph. I'm going to show you how to get it with the equation as well. So when we do reflection in the y-axis, that's a horizontal. So you have to do f of negative x. That's the rules for reflection of the y-axis. The negative goes inside of the function. So we do f of negative x. What does f of negative x mean? Replace, help me out, replace x with parenthesis negative x. So we go to our f equation and we find absolute value. There's my x, so negative x plus 3 plus 1. Are those the same? They're not the same, are they? Okay, so here's the trickiest part of all of this. And this is why, if there is a graph, I think it's easier to just look at the graph and find the equation. So here's something about absolute value that you probably didn't get enough practice with before. So I'm going to manipulate this absolute value a little bit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take out a -1 inside, but it's not going to go outside the bars yet. It's not going to go outside the bars. I'm going to take out a -1 from the -x, so that's going to leave me with a positive x. I'm going to take out a -1 from 3, so 3 divided by -1 is -3 plus 1. So taking out is like the opposite of distributing. So I'm undistributing the -1. So it didn't go anywhere. It's still there in front. And then there is one more step. Well, 2 more steps, but this -1 right here, I'm allowed to, this is, hold on. I'll just break. There we go. All right, the -1, I'm allowed to, are you asking me? Okay. I'm allowed to take out the -1 from the absolute value, make it its own separate absolute value, and make x minus 3 its own separate absolute value. I'm allowed to kind of separate that because both of these things are being multiplied. So I can unmultiply them, but have the absolute values multiplied.
What is that the absolute value of -1?
That's the absolute value of -1
Absolute
times. Yep. So I just separated out how it was absolute value of -1 times x minus 3. I made them 2 separate absolute values. And that's a property that we use a lot with other things too, not just absolute values, but other things like square roots. We do that way. And then can you guys tell me the answer to absolute value of -1? 1. Okay, so that's really just 1. And then we have absolute value x minus 3 plus 1, which is what I got originally when I just looked at the graph. So this way was harder for sure. You can get it that way. It was just harder. So if you get stuck and you have an absolute value question, remember I'm making a video right here. Also, I have an email address and a Canvas inbox. You could send me a message if you get stuck. Or advisory today if you get stuck. So there is student practice. There are 4 questions. And you know what? No, we're just going to do them together because we only have like 4 minutes. So we're going to do 1 minute per question. Ready? Okay. So this one says up. So up is on the outside. So I would think f of x and then add 5 on the outside. So I'm going to take my f of x equation, which is 3x, and I'm going to add 5 on the outside. This says write a function g. So this answer is g of x is equal to 3x plus 5. So Dimitri, what part did you have incorrect? Yeah, you said f instead of g. Yeah, which you've already seen me make a mistake on too. So yeah. Mm-hmm. All right, the next one says 4 units to the right. So when we do it to the right, that is, it's minus and it is located inside. So this is inside and it's a minus. So my directions will say I'm going to take that f equation and I'm going to do x minus 4. So we're going to take our f equation, which is right here, and I will do absolute value of x minus 4, and then close the absolute value minus 3. I don't need the absolute value and the parentheses next to each other. We don't need that. So g of x equals absolute value x minus 4 minus 3. You will need those parentheses though. Just not yet. Just get used to doing them so that when we need them, you don't have to relearn it. 2 more. F of x equals negative absolute value x plus 2 minus 1. So we're going to do a reflection in the x-axis. Is that on the inside or the outside? Okay, so I'm going to do negative of the original function. We do negative the original function. Ryan, do you know what I need to do? For this one, you know what I need to do?
I didn't do it the way you did it. I said
So what'd you get?
I changed it, so it's g of x equals absolute value x plus 2 plus 1.
So I think you did it the way I did it. You just didn't write the thing in front of it, right? So that is correct. Absolute value, what'd you say? X.
X plus 2, absolute value is 1 plus 1.
Perfect. That's the right answer. So the how we get that, so he knew what to do, but he maybe didn't write this part. How we get that is we have to do a negative sign on the outside of our original function, negative absolute value, x plus 2, close the absolute value, minus 1. We have to do that negative on the outside and then distribute it to the negative here and the negative here, which makes both of them positive. All right, and then finally, we've got f of x equals half x plus 1. We're going to do a reflection in the y-axis. Is that inside or outside? Inside. So we're going to do f of negative x. If you are choosing to not write down f of negative x because you think, I don't need it, I don't give you stuff that you don't need. I don't give you extra work just for fun. I give it to you so that you're learning something that will happen some other day. Okay? So make sure, even if you don't think you need that part, write it down. If you don't understand that part, ask. Because I know there's some of you don't understand it every single year. So please ask. Advocate for yourself. Going back to this, this means replace x with negative x in parentheses. So 1/2, parenthesis, negative x, close parenthesis, plus 1. Is there anything I can simplify? Can I simplify? Can I multiply 1/2 times negative x? It's going to give me negative 1/2 x plus 1. So when I simplified, it went from looking like a horizontal reflection to looking like a vertical reflection. That is okay. When you simplify it, it's okay for it to change what it looks like. But you do want to simplify. We always want to simplify. Okay. We have more of these notes that we will finish on Monday. You have enough to get you started on the assignment. I do not have an upload up yet. So you can get started. Once you feel like you're not understanding it, we're going to do more notes on Monday. So this won't be due till Tuesday. All right? Okay.